rated MCU projects, it does present lots of interesting ideas, even if it doesn't always do a good job of fleshing them out. Case in point, the iconic line to come out of the season 1 finale episode, "Be better," and what the heck that actually means, other than it just being great meme bait. Quick flashback to what leads up to this famous line in case you've been sleeping on the series or the last 3 MCU movies. Back in 2017, Thanos, that's the purple guy here, snapped half of the universe out of existence. Poof! 5 years later, the Avengers, specifically Hulk, undid the snap, bringing everyone right back to where they were when they disappeared. They didn't reverse time or anything, they just created some 3.5 billion people out of thin air. Now, back when I told the world that Thanos unfortunately was right, I talked about how a new abundance of resources and production would make life for the remaining population significantly easier. Well, this time around, we actually have the opposite situation. A world that had dealt with and moved past the 3.5 billion deaths, built to only serve some 3.5 billion people, suddenly having to serve double that amount. That's the primary cause of the events of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Our sort of antagonist, Carly Morgenthau, has benefited tremendously from what's now referred to as the blip, along with a bunch of other outcasts, refugees, and marginalized groups who fled their oppressive countries during the snap times. These people do not want to go back to how life was before the blip, and their organization, the Flag Smashers, has the goal of keeping country borders down to allow displaced people to stay in their new lives. But Carly isn't exactly peaceful about it. In her final act, she attacks a meeting of the Global Repatriation Council, which is an organization aiming to return things to the way they were pre-snap. She's eventually stopped by Sam Wilson as the brand new Captain America and killed by the power broker. Cut and roll credits, right? Wrong. Sam, as an ethnic minority, sympathizes with her mission and lectures the Global Repatriation Council members about being better in a nearly 4-minute monologue. For 4 minutes, he speaks truth to power. Yeah, stick it to those government bigwigs, is what the swelling, impassioned music wants you to believe, but when you actually listen to Sam's words, they sound pretty, but they're ultimately hollow.
Our peacekeeping troops will begin relocating people soon. The terrorists only set us back a bit.
You have to stop calling them terrorists.
Stop calling them terrorists, he says, about a group of people that bombed buildings and killed people to get their message across. No matter how noble your message is, that's just not okay. But it continues.
And the people who reappeared only to find someone else living in their family home, they just end up homeless? Look, I get it. But you have no idea how complicated this situation is. You know what? You're right. And that's a good thing. We finally have a common struggle now.
Way to deflect the question there, Sam. Government dude's like, hey, you don't get it, superhero guy. This is a tough problem to solve. And Sam responds with well, yeah, but now you know what it's like to feel helpless and hated by people. That is not the point of this conversation, Sam. The senators are talking about how there's no perfect solutions to these humanitarian problems. You're talking about why it's time they get hate for their decisions. You see, all these are two separate conversations that have nothing to do with each other. By the end of the speech, here's his advice.
You've got to do better, Senator. You've got to step up.
Be better. Be better at what? Solving the complicated housing, food, and humanitarian issues of a planet that just doubled in population? Just feed everyone. Find everyone a home.